Hey guys, so I want to tell you guys a story about something that happened to me this past Sunday while I was fishing. And I don't typically rant, I don't typically post negative things, I don't typically try to be derogatory in any manner. But I think that this is maybe a PSA that needs to be announced, right? So I decided to bank fish a local lake that I really haven't been to. You cannot access this lake with a regular boat and outboard. You can kayak it, you can canoe it. You can't use any boat that has an engine on it. So I decided I'd go there and bank fish. So I got there about 5:30 roughly in the morning. I was the first person there. I seen an in or outlet going in. To where I was going to go stand, and it looks good. So I figured I'd go fish that for a little while when I first got there. For about an hour, I was there by myself. About 6:30 rolls around. Five or six people roll into the parking lot, and they all space out. Right. I mean, this is actually a pretty decent sized lake, and they all go separate ways throughout the different trail systems and appear in different places to fish. And then about 30, 45 minutes later, this guy gets out of his vehicle and he starts walking right towards me. And I thought it was kind of weird, but also I know a lot of people in the fishing community that like to talk. So my assumption was that this guy was going to come talk to me about like lures I was using, what kind of luck I was having, what I was catching them on. Was it in the bottom? Was it on the top? Was it somewhere in the middle? But actually, the complete opposite happened that I was not expecting. Is he actually walked up to me and he said, "Hey man, can I fish here?" So I thought, well, okay, maybe he's not from here. Maybe he doesn't know if this is like a private or public, even though there's signs everywhere. That this was just my assumption that maybe he didn't know that. So I said, yeah, man, you're good to fish here. It's a public lake. He says, no, can I fish here? This is my spot. I fish here all the time. And at that point, I was kind of taken back a little bit. I've never in my life had that happen. So I kind of paused for a second. It was just like, wait, excuse me? He was like, yeah, man, I fish here all the time. Can I fish right here? And I said, sorry, man. I'm gonna move on here in just a bit. I'm trying to fish as much as this brush pile, a few trees and some stumps. I'm trying to fish as much as I can, and I'm trying to go through as many baits as I can, just kind of figuring out what they're eating, what the feeding schedule that they're on. Are they high in the column, low in the water column, stuff like that. So then this guy doesn't leave. He's not happy with my answer. So he ties on like the biggest jig I have ever seen. I mean, I'm a monster of a jig with this massive trailer that I could be wrong, but in no God's way would I ever assume that any fish would ever eat that in the lake that we're fishing. I don't know if it was possibly a humongous musky lure or an ocean lure, but it was massive. And this guy gets out his Zebco, which I have nothing against the Zebco. Just the whole situation just makes me laugh. So he gets out to his Zebco rod and he starts hail marrying this lure as high and as far as possible and just splashing it and then just burning it in and then just hail marrying it, splashing it. I mean, like it sounded almost like a shotgun when it hit the water every time. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this guy's obviously not leaving. I'm obviously not going to get some fishing in. So I'm going to move on. And I looked at him and I said, come on, man, have some respect. And he just smiled. So I guess he won. I guess he won that encounter. But guys, let's have some respect for other fishermen, whether they're in your spots or maybe you got a secret hole that you like fishing, and one day you show up and somebody else is there. Guys, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to catch fish. We're all trying to. Here you go, bud. We're all trying to better each other and try to catch a personal best, right? So at first I thought, okay, maybe my day will get better from there, and it didn't. Which these days don't happen very often to me. But I go through these trails and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the back of the lake. I know there's some lily pads and some cattails and things like that I had seen on the map that I have on my phone. So I went ahead and followed the trails all the way to the back of the lake. About halfway through on the left side of the lake, I seen family fishing, which is amazing. I love when families go fish. I love getting kids involved young fishing and making them outdoor lovers. So whenever this whenever I walked by, this kid had a little 3-4 inch bluegill, something in that nature, sunfish possibly. Um, and the dad was yelling at this kid to take the fish off the hook and to grab the fish. And this kid very much didn't want to grab the fish. It sounded like it possibly already had poked him with his fins, so he wasn't about it. And the father wasn't giving up. He was yelling and yelling and yelling, and then it turned into cussing, and then it turned into other explicitives, and then it turned into name calling, all because his younger son did not want to touch this fish. So in most situations, I would have spoke up. Um, I had to do my best to hold my tongue in that situation, but that's not cool, guys. So I don't typically rant, but maybe this is a PSA that's needed, guys. Let's have some respect for other fishermen whenever they're out there fishing. Everybody has the same goals. We're all trying to catch fish. We may be out there for different reasons, whether that be to try to relieve stress, whether that be to catch a personal best, or whether that be to practice and hone in tournament skills. Respect other fishermen. And then on the other side, guys, if we're trying to raise a group of future anglers, and we're trying to raise a future generation of land lovers and outdoor lovers, guys, we can't force them into traumatic experiences so that they can hold a fish. The reality is, I guarantee you, if that father would have taken the fish off the hook, put him back in the water, and done that a few times, that son probably would have got a little more comfortable with it. And then maybe down the road, a week, a month, a year, whatever it may be, that this kid can then get used to attempting to take a fish off the hook, that kid very well will probably have appreciation for that. And I have a feeling now that kid probably will never want to fish for the rest of his life. So I think the opposite happened. The other thing that I noticed, bank fishing, because like I said, there's no outboard motors allowed on this lake. You can't have any type. You can't even have a troller motor, right? You have to have. It has to be paddle-oriented boating. So the other thing I learned while bank fishing this was, wow, guys, fishermen leave a lot of trash. The amount of line that I found, the amount of broken lures, the amount of plastics on the ground, the amount of beer cans, things like that. We got to have more respect for our land than that, guys. If we want to raise a healthy population of fish, we need a healthy environment for those fish to live in. So have some respect for the people you fish with. Please have respect and don't force people into situations they don't want to be in. We need future anglers, and let's raise the best future anglers that we can. And please pick up after yourself. It doesn't take a lot for a conservation department to decide to close something publicly if it just continually gets trashed. So if you guys want the best opportunities to fish out there, you guys want the best ability to go out to public access land and water and fish, we've got to treat it right. So this is my one rant video. I don't rant very often, but until next time, guys, tight lines.